Hello out there, and welcome to the first episode of PSVR Digest. It's me, Dave from Davestation VR, as always, and this is a new concept I've been working on to pull together anything that's been going on this week in PSVR, whether it be breaking news, updates on games that are coming soon, sales, and kind of a quick review roundup of what's come out this week. So let's get into it. Starting at the top, big news from Sony today. 3 million PSVR headsets have been sold at this point. And, if you compare those numbers to any other VR headset out there, Sony has just blown them out of the water. PSVR has a huge install base compared to something like an Oculus or HTC, and it just keeps growing. So that's exciting news, really cool to hear that. And in addition to the 3 million headsets, 21.9 million games and experiences have been sold as well. So people are actually out there buying stuff once they get the headset. That's good to see. They also came out with a list of the most played games for PSVR, a top 10 list. And I'll just start from number 10, and we'll go back to number 1. So number 10 is Super Hot VR, followed by Farpoint, Batman Arkham VR, Until Dawn Rush of Blood, Job Simulator, The Playroom VR, Resident Evil 7, Rec Room, PlayStation VR Worlds, and number 1 is Elder Scrolls Skyrim VR, of course. So no huge surprises there, but it's interesting to see that still a lot of what's taken that top 10 list is launch titles. So I would hopefully see, in the future we're going to get some newer stuff in there, get some fresh blood, and unseat some of those original releases there. In other news, we got some new info on Firewall 0 Hour, which is still coming out on the 28th of this month, so very soon. Press outlets were invited to come play the game for one last preview event, and they got to spend 4 hours straight with it. So plenty of time to dig in and see if there's any glaring flaws, see if it plays well, and what it's all about. And Upload VR has an article that they posted this morning, and it's pretty in-depth. The feedback is mostly positive. The only issue that they really noticed was a balancing issue, so it seemed like the attacking team tended to win almost every time. So I don't know if that's something that comes with expertise, being on the defending team is harder, or if it's something that they'll patch in a future update. If you want an in-depth look at that, check out Petrifying Pumpkins on YouTube. He just posted a video about it today, and he is the go-to guy for any Firewall 0 stuff around here. Other piece of news about that's mostly relevant to me, but no review codes are sending out ahead of launch for this game. So don't expect any early streams, or I'm not going to have the scoop on this one. Their rationale behind that is basically, since it's a multiplayer online game, they don't want to send it to anybody before their servers are up and running and populated. So that makes sense to me, but if you're looking for any kind of early previews from YouTubers, that's not going to happen. We're going to get it at the same time that you guys do. Alright, what else we got? There is a new mode coming to Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, which is a great little party game. They're adding 2D flat screen, of course. So that's one of those things that I think developers do to try and up the sales a little bit of games that, are primarily VR, but they want to open it up to some new people. And that's a great one, so I'm glad to see that they're adding that. And otherwise, we got a lot of releases coming up soon. Next week on the 21st, there's Track Lab, which is a music creation tool. A little different than Electro Knots, which is a remixing tool. This is an actual music creation tool, from what I can tell, and it looks pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to play around with it yet, but I think codes are going out soon. And then the week after that is going to be huge. The 28th, we've got Firewall, of course. We've also got Bow to Blood, Catch and Release, and Torn. And I swear there's at least one that I'm forgetting. But there's a lot coming out on the 28th. It's going to be a busy week, and a lot of fun for all of us. So right after that, on September 4th, we've got Zone of the Enders remake coming back out on PSVR as well as flat screen PS4. And I'm really looking forward to that one. I had fun with the demo. I know some people didn't like it too much, but I always enjoyed mech stuff and old school Konami, Hideo Kojima. I'm looking forward to that one. That just about covers it for the news, so let's get into the review roundup for this week. Now, we had 2 new games come out, as well as some pretty decently sized DLC for an existing game. First one I want to talk about is Vroom Kaboom. Now, this is an interesting hybrid of genres. It's going to be a deck building / tower rush / vehicular combat game. If that sounds like you don't know what the hell it is, you won't for a while, even after you start playing it. My initial impressions here were, I don't know what the hell's going on. The game's tutorial doesn't really explain much of anything to you, and you really got to spend at least 3 or 4 hours with it to get all the nuances of, how do I build a deck? What do these values mean on the cards? How do I unlock new cards? How do I scrap cards that I have duplicates of? And just like, is there a strategy? What is the strategy? The tutorial doesn't really get you started with any of that stuff. Now, I will say I spent enough time with it to learn the ropes, and I had a good time with it, especially when I was playing against somebody online. Now, it's got online multiplayer, 1v1 only for PSVR. There's also a flat screen version of this. And the one thing that's caused a lot of confusion is that they have a free-to-play version, and then they also have a premium version that costs $20. The free-to-play got mislabeled by Sony as a demo in the PSN store, so the developers are working on fixing that. But it's not a demo, it's a free-to-play version of the game, and the difference between those is that the free version has about 30 cards that you can play around with and unlock, whereas the premium version has 70-plus cards. So it really opens up, the options as far as what you can get, how you can build a deck, that sort of stuff. There's not microtransactions in the game, even on the free version. You grind to unlock the stuff that you either have for free or you've paid for. Overall, I would say check this one out for free, definitely. That's kind of a no-brainer. And if you like what you see, if you have a good round with your friend and you guys have a good time online, maybe consider going to the premium. It's not too bad. It really turned me off at first, but after that I kind of warmed up to it. The other game that came out this week is called DominoCraft, and unlike Vroom Kaboom, there is nothing confusing about this one at all. It is exactly what you'd think it would be. It's dominoes in VR. So the base game is kind of a puzzle setup where you've got a partially constructed domino thing, and you have to figure out with a certain limited number of dominoes how to complete the chain, to get from point A to point B and knock everything over. There's a total of 36 stages to play through here, split up across 6 different areas. And as you go through, you're going to unlock stuff that can be used in the other mode of the game, which is called Creative Mode, which, as you might expect, just gives you as many dominoes as you want from what you've unlocked and lets you go crazy. You can save those creations, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, you can't share them with people online or download other people's. That is something that was apparently in the PC version that we didn't get on PSVR. But at the $10 price point, I still think there's enough going on here. And there's something just kind of inherently fun about playing with dominoes, especially when you're like triggering rockets and shooting cars off and all kinds of stuff. They keep it pretty entertaining, and I was surprised to see that the puzzles started getting challenging as I went on. And, I'd have to retry things a few times. I'd run out of dominoes and have to redo what I had already done to kind of, increase the efficiency of my setup. It's pretty good. Like I said, it's going to come in at $10 on the US store, and at that price, I think it's definitely one that I want to recommend. If you're at all into puzzle solving or creative endeavors or dominoes, or if you've got kids, this one was surprisingly robust as far as the gameplay goes, and everybody loves a creative mode, especially being able to save what you've done and come back to it. So DominoCraft, thumbs up. Last but not least, we got this week the Arizona Sunshine Deadman DLC, the long-awaited DLC. And unfortunately, if you don't live in the US, it is still long-awaited because it only dropped in the US. So sorry, rest of the world. I'm not sure why it played out that way. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not available right now in any other countries. But in the US, it's $2.50, and it gives you about an extra 45 minutes or an hour of game time. It's a prequel to the original Arizona Sunshine. And my take on it was that, for $2.50, it's a good amount of content, I think, as a DLC, and it's well priced. If you liked the base game, you're going to like this just as much. There's some new weapons to try out that are pretty fun, like everybody loves the P90 in this one, which is quite satisfying, I have to say. Of course, I was playing with the aim. I haven't tried it with the other control methods, but had a good time with the aim support. And it's really one of those things where all the bugs that existed in Arizona Sunshine are still there. It's still janky. If you play with a friend, his animations are going to be crazy. He's going to be floating in the air. He's going to be under the ground. He's going to be all over the place. And, zombies will walk through fences. There's all kinds of really janky, glitchy stuff in there. You'll get stuck on the ground all the time. But this is already Arizona Sunshine, so I can't speak to it as an issue with the DLC. because it's really just a continuation of what was in the base game. Now, the base game right now is actually 50% off, and this is only $2.50. And when it came out, I kind of panned it because at $40, it's not up to the level of polish that $40 requires. But it's like about $17 right now. So at that price with the extra $2.50 for the DLC, I'd say it's maybe worth a pickup, mostly if you're going to play through with a friend. This game is much more fun with a friend, and the DLC allows you to co-op the whole thing. So that's pretty cool. Overall, if you've got the base game, this is going to be a good pickup for you. And if you don't already, but it seems like something you'd be interested in, price probably isn't going to get too much lower than it is right now. So might be time to pull the trigger on it. So that about covers it for this week. I want to go through a couple titles that I didn't get to reviews for, but I still feel like talking about, that I haven't made full dedicated videos for yet. The first one of those is Electro Knots. If you haven't seen this game yet, check out my DJ Megamix. It is so much fun. As soon as you're in it, you feel like a superstar. Everything you do sounds good, it's intuitive, and there's so many little features to play around with. There's also tons of licensed music that you'll recognize as well as originals, and they're going to keep adding more as free DLC. And the price is under $20. Really, there isn't anything bad I can say about this game, other than if you're looking for a game, it's not really a game. It's more of a fun remix tool that you can throw somebody into. And, you know, my roommate's girlfriend tried it out, and she was immediately saying, I need a PSVR. So, take that for what it's worth. The other one I wanted to talk about is a much more obscure little game called Kowloons Gate Suzaku VR. Now, this is currently only available in English from the Hong Kong store, but it's really easy to set up a Hong Kong account. There's plenty of information online, and I've talked about it a million times on this channel. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and do that. There's all kinds of stuff in there you can't get yet in America, or may never get. But Kowloons Gate is a really interesting little title. It's very spooky, very atmospheric, and really what you're doing is going around and recreating these spiritual photos, psychological photos they call them, of, someone standing in a certain area or like a creepy thing going on behind a gate, something like that. And they really just kill it with the atmosphere of Kowloon Walled City. Kowloon Walled City was a place in Hong Kong that was eventually demolished, but was known as being the inspiration for all of cyberpunk, essentially. Blade Runner just took its whole visual style from Kowloon Walled City. It was a real place. And it's just so interesting to be able to experience that locale in VR. I had a really good time with it. It might be too slow-moving or weird for some people. But I know, I turned Brian over at Without Parole onto it, and he had a great time. He played the whole game in one live stream. He streamed for like 7 hours. So, it'll hook you once you figure out what the gameplay loop is. So I had a good time with that one, and I just kind of want to boost it up a little bit, because I don't think too many people have been talking about it, except for me and Brian at Without Parole. And just wanted to put it out there for you guys again. Kowloons Gate Suzaku VR. It's weird, it's interesting, candy love. Now you guys all know me as a VR guy, and that is what I do on YouTube almost all the time. But I just wanted to take a few seconds to talk about some flat screen stuff that I've also been enjoying that I want to turn you guys on to. If you haven't heard about Dead Cells yet, that game is incredible. Look it up. It's kind of a Metroidvania. The combat system is just so satisfying. And while it is procedurally generated, it's a roguelike, and there's permadeath. Each time you die, you end up a little bit more powerful. You get permanent upgrades as you go through. You can unlock more weapons to spawn with. And it's just such a satisfying loop. It feels great to play. And, once you get the hang of it, you feel like a real badass. So definitely check out Dead Cells if you're into 2D stuff. It's out on PS4, PC, and Switch. The other thing I want to talk about is Shenmue 1 and 2. So the re-releases of these are coming out together on one disc next week, the 21st, and I am really excited about that. I have been a Dreamcast guy my whole life. Shenmue was one of the best Christmas presents I ever got. I still remember waking up Christmas morning, popping that disc in, and watching the intro cutscene. It's just great, so I'm excited about that as well. Alright, well I think I've rambled for long enough here. I'm going to leave you with one last thing before I go. There's some good sales in the store right now, and there's a couple pre-order bonuses on games that are coming soon. So as far as big titles that are on sale right now, like I mentioned, Arizona Sunshine is 50% off. Star Trek Bridge Crew is 40% off. Also, Eagle Flight is 40% off, which I saw a really good stream of by God Cannon the other night, so check his channel out if you haven't yet. We've also got Killing Floor at 30% off, End Space is half price. The Solus Project, great little game, is 60% off. So lots of stuff floating around out there. And remember, Here They Lie is still free this month if you're a PS Plus member, and that's totally worth checking out. As far as pre-orders go, we've got Bow to Blood, which comes out on the 28th, and that's going to be a 20% discount. And we've also got Creed, which is coming at the end of September, and that's from Servios, who brought us Electro Knots and Sprint Vector and Raw Data, so definitely one to keep an eye on. That one's going to be a 10% PS Plus discount. Alright folks, that's all she wrote. Thanks for sticking around for this first episode of PSVR Digest. If you have any feedback about how I could improve this for next time around, feel free to leave me a comment down below. And if you enjoyed it, leave me a like or a subscribe or whatever you feel like. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys for watching so much. Thank you, and have a good day. I will catch you later.